Hi there. So in this video I'm going to discuss a few of the points that I have noticed with regard to psychiatry and the false mental health diagnoses that are taking place. I have put a lot of these points on my website and I can put a link to that in the video description below, but I will just run through some of them for YouTube, which may be of assistance and help other people to find these arguments. So many people often say that, these allegations are just so extreme that there must be some kind of innocent explanation. And this is why it's very important to distinguish between facts and conspiracies and falsehoods. In a context where this crime is not yet publicly known, the term conspiracy theory has emerged. And this has somehow come to suggest that all theories or any suggestion that a crime is taking place is automatically untrue. But that's not what conspiracy theory means. Conspiracy is a word that has been developed in the language to describe that type of situation. A theory is just a theory about one of those conspiracies. So it doesn't automatically mean that if somebody decides to call it, your allegation, a conspiracy theory, that your allegation is automatically untrue, which is what has been seeming to have been going on when these allegations have been made, and they have been rebuffed by the mere assertion that they are a conspiracy theory. That, to me, is simply based on people not paying attention. It doesn't make sense whatsoever. However, another point to mention is that it has also been very difficult for us to convey the fact that this crime is going on, and this is perhaps in part because it's difficult for decent people to really understand criminal psychology and deviant psychology, because it's very, very different. And that is, perhaps why it's been difficult for other people to recognise that criminal activity is taking place, and also that criminal activity on this scale of severity is taking place. Because it's so much easier to just drop these allegations into the conspiracy theory, basket, which has been quite clearly laid out, through the media and through this systematic disconnecting and reconnecting of the concept to mean something completely different. So it's important to remember that serious crime and criminal behaviour does exist. It's existed throughout the history of mankind. And history proves that crimes like this particular one we are talking about do take place, because similar crimes like this have already been exposed. Now, thousands of people, well, we don't know how many people are genuine, because we know that there are some people who are alleging this crime are not genuine, but there are many, many people who are, and it's taken me a very long time to work out who's genuine and who's not. But when you start paying attention more and more, you do start seeing the cues, and it is actually quite fascinating, because you do have to go on a journey into your own psychology and your own personal assumptions. But in this case, many people are now making very, very highly specific and virtually identical allegations to each other about a form of crime that is taking place. Now, I've also heard in the media that point is being used against victims by saying, well, it's some kind of mass delusion. We'll get to that. Anyway, for now, I'll mention that there is a huge amount of evidence available. And this is because so many people are suffering in so many different ways. And the point, maybe the situation might be inconclusive if you just look at one person's case, but when you put all the cases together and you look at the evidence and the entire thing as a whole, which hasn't happened yet, that's when you can get a broader scope of things, and that's when you put together the proven cases of MK Ultra and COINTELPRO and the persecution of Falun Gong as well. That's another very important one. But there is massive evidence, but you can't say it's a mass delusion without actually reviewing the evidence being put forward by these people. And that's what a lot of people have been suggesting, that it's okay to simply call it a mass delusion and nothing else, and without any further ado, and that's automatically suggesting that it is now been decided that it's a mass delusion. These attempts to just basically do away with the allegations put forward by victims just don't make sense by any standard of logic. And that's a very clear telltale sign of deviant psychology. Okay, because deviants don't make sense, and they lie, and they are compulsive liars to hide their crimes. So they will say whatever they need to at the time to get away with it, but it's only when you go back and you look back and you have a look and you see it doesn't add up, and that's how you know you found a liar. So one of the ways you know. Okay, it's also crucial to know the nature of modern technology that's taking place as well, and that makes these type of crimes possible. Because, again, these allegations by victims have just sort of been dismissed out of hand and said, without anybody without the police conducting a criminal investigation. And that's what's been happening. The police have been just rerouting these allegations into the mental health bin, which has been set up, and they have not investigated it, so they have got no basis upon which to say whether it's true or not. They have just been trying to get away with it. So it's important to not suggest that somebody is crazy for alleging a crime and then suggest that you're completely set. You have a do you see what I mean? It doesn't make sense. It's all got to be coherent. Okay, yeah. Another point is, which I'll just skim over for now, is that a lot of material has arisen in the public domain, which is suggesting that this is not true. And this is what we have been discovering is wrong with alt media, because we have the mainstream media which plugs away all the propaganda for the politicians, and then we have the alt media which seems to have emerged in the last couple of years, which seems to be instigating all these Arab Springs in the Middle East and all these revolutions that end up having these massive civil conflicts. And a lot of, but then we have some of the alt media spreading misinformation and disinformation, you see. So a lot of the alt media has been discredited as well. But, I'm going to discuss in these videos some of the cases where genuine claimants have been deliberately labelled as delusional in the past, precisely so their genuine claims of abuse can be ignored. Okay, and we know this happens as a routine sign of deviant behaviour through the suppression of child sexual abuse victims, where they are labelled mad, so their genuine claims can be ignored. And that's the level that deviants will stoop to label a child who's been abused as crazy, as delusional, so as to avoid justice and to avoid protection for those children and children like them. So anyway, in these videos I'm going to discuss how the defence of delusion just doesn't hold up logically, but what I might do, given the amount of time that has been running, I might make that in a separate video. So we'll be back for part 2.